Greetings, my honorable judges and my fellow debaters. My name is Thaha Albana Turmuzi, and I'm from SMAN 5, Bogor, West Java. It's such a great honor to be able to speak and compete in a debating competition while trying to stay alive in this COVID-19 worldwide pandemic. And of course, I'm still staying at home as of this moment. Today, I'll be speaking as the leader of opposition on this debate motion about this House previous the strategy of pushing for institutional reform to address police abuse and misconduct rather than defunding the police. As the leader of opposition, I would hopefully give you guys the rational and most logical arguments on why and supporting on why the defunding the police is the only way and the only option to solve this abuse of power uh, problem crisis that we're having right now. Before I dive into my main arguments, I would like to give you the definition of defining the police. Defining the police means that reallocating or redirecting funding away from the police department to other government agencies and programs such as social services, youth services, housing, education, healthcare, and other community resources. Defunding does not mean abolishing the police. Examples of institutional reform include man, mandating the police misconduct be judged by an oversight body, which may involve civilians. The officers involved death and other critical incidents be independently investigated and prosecuted, and that the training of officers be overhauled and monitored to emphasize de-escalation. All right. So, firstly, I would like to point out a name. One, two, three, go. George Floyd. Okay, everybody knows George Floyd. Everybody knows who he is. He is a African American man that was murdered by a police officer on the streets. Uh, a, a white police officer put his knee on George Floyd's behind George Floyd's neck, and then he was laid down there on the ground. His neck was pressured for like I don't know more than 7 minutes. George Floyd kept on saying he can't breathe, but the police officers noticed that I said police officers because not only one is wrong in this context, the officers just didn't do anything to prevent it. Now I know you government team is going to think, oh, we should, you know, the proportion of the races that are in the police should be way more balanced. That's one way to solve the problem, right? Well, no, necessarily is no, please, because if you actually look at George Floyd's video, there's an Asian police officer. He is not white, he is Asian, even though the one that's kneeing him behind his neck is white. But guess what? Asians did nothing, and I'm pretty sure. Correct me if I'm wrong here. Uh, I'm pretty sure there's also one black police officer at the time. I don't know. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but if there is one police officer, that's just way worse than I really thought that this problem of police brutality really is. So let me put it at this point right now. We need a revolution. An evolution is not good enough. So imagine George Floyd is like your father or your someone that you actually love, like it could be your wife, it could be your grandma, your son, or I don't know, just someone significant to you that you actually care about. And then you just heard the news that he or she was murdered brutally, immorally by the police. So what would you do? Of course you will be angry. Of course you will be mad at the police, and then you want justice. You want justice to happen. You want a fast revolution to happen. This government team don't want no revolution. They just want an evolution. Why they just want an evolution? Because I don't know. That's just the side of the government. We like they are immorally immobile. Okay, so we need a revolution, as I said before, and your argument about the proportion of the police being uh Western or I mean being Indian American, I don't know. it does not matter. Okay, if you're a police, that means you're a police. There's actually no races because it is proven that by the video of George Floyd, an Asian and a black police didn't do anything. So, what is the problem to solve this? We need, as I said, a revolution by cutting away the funds of the police and reallocating it to others, such as housing, such as education, which is probably the most important. So when you see this one factor is having a trouble and not doing its thing, that's not working properly, so there's got to be a change in here, which is the police department. And then why not just uh, punish the police department by defunding it and then reallocating the funds to departments that are way more important, and it is bound to work even better if the funding for the police is being allocated to education. Right, this is my main point here, because as you can see, most of this police brutality is being wrongly used in domestic violence. You know, when there's a thief, the thief could be dead because the police is like doing it over the top. So there's not gonna be domestic. I mean, the rate of the most domestic violence is gonna decrease when your education system is better. When there's more funding in the education system, better teachers, and it can be the funding for the police could actually be moved to funding the schools, funding the teachers, because uh, education is actually far more important, because the thieves, they are not e- uh, educated well. So the thieves and those domestic violence are because they don't have necessarily education, which means we need to improve education, we need to improve housing. And if the the people are more happy and more managed in their economically, then there's no need for any domestic violence actions, because they're already happy and proud. So yeah, uh, we need a revolution. Evolution is way too slow. Justice needs to be served. We do not want anyone dying, and this dying again, and this change needs to be happen quickly. That's why we need to defund the police, punish them, and make a revolution. Thank you very much for paying attention to my speech. I wish you all have a great afternoon.